Here we go, Algebra 1 students. This is the Algebra 1 Common Core Regents exam for June 2017. Welcome back. These are going to be the solutions. Parts 2 through 4 of this Regents exam. These are the short answer questions. These, honestly, going through these again, were not that challenging. So it shouldn't be that hard this time around, but we'll see in the near future if you are preparing for your Regents exam. Please, once again, do not take my answers and copy them. These are the answers that people want from me because it's the work shown. If you Google the answers, it just shows the number, not the work. Do not take the work without doing the problems. Doesn't help you. So, please don't do it. Hit that subscribe button down below. Consider becoming a patron on my Patreon page. I would be forever so grateful if you could do that. I do provide these for free, for no charge. You're not going to be charged at all, but if you want to consider it, please ask your parents or do it yourself if you have a bank account. And make sure that you visit my website at www.nysmathregingsprep.com. Both the Patreon link and my website link are in the description below. And just a reminder that I use the TI Inspire CX. This also can be found on my website. It just links you right to Amazon, and I highly recommend this calculator. It is so powerful of a tool that you'll never go back to any old calculator again. So, without further ado, let's jump right to number 25 of this exam. And we begin with an easy question. Here we go, number 25. Express in simplest form. 3x squared plus 4x minus 8 minus negative 2x squared plus 4x plus 2. In other words, if they say simplest form, they're really saying combine like terms. They just can't say that because it kind of gives the answer away if they tell you combine like terms. So what we're going to do is we're going to look for similar the same variables in this case. So we got the 3x squared and the negative 2x squared, the 4x and the 4x, and we got the negative 8 and the positive 2. But we need to do something first. We need to distribute that negative 1. We need to change all the signs in this parenthesis. So we get 3x squared plus 4x minus 8. Now a negative times a negative 2x squared gives you a positive 2x squared. Negative times positive 4x is a negative 4x. And negative times a positive 2 gives you a minus 2. Okay? But again, we're still combining like terms. Nothing has changed here except the signs. Okay? So we're just still combining like terms. No big deal. Okay? And let's go ahead and do it right now. So, 3x squared plus 2x squared is a 5x squared. A 4x and a negative 4x, well, those actually just cancel out completely, non-existent anymore. Negative 8 plus a negative 2 gives you a minus 10. Ladies and gentlemen, 5x squared minus 10 is your answer. Or if you wrote it as 5 times x squared minus 2 is acceptable. Or if you wrote it as 5 times x plus radical 2, x minus radical 2. Any of these answers are, in fact, completely acceptable. However you did it, as long as you got to one of these three answers, you did it correctly. Okay, moving on to number 26. Graph the function f of x is equal to negative x squared minus 6x on the set of axes below. Okay, here we go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put f of x over here, and I am going to write an xy table. I'm going to type this function into my, I don't know what that just did. I'm going to type this into my graphing calculator. Okay? First I need to draw a straighter line. Actually, I'll just make it squiggle. Okay. So here we go. Go to my calculator page. Okay, go to graph negative x squared minus 6x. Got that. All right, Control T. Find where your vertex is because that's where you start all the time. The vertex is negative 3, 9. So what I always do personally is I always put the vertex in the middle like that. And I always go 3 above, 3 below. So 3 above the -3 on the chart is -4, -5, -6, and below is -2, -1, 0. And these coordinates are 0, 5, and 8, 9, 8, 5, 0. Okay, so that's it right there. So let's go ahead and graph that function. So -6, 0, -1, 2, 3, 4, 5, -6, 0, -5, 5, -4, 8, -3, 9, and then just the symmetric opposite on the right-hand side. Okay. This is your quadratic right there. All right. And, of course, you label f of x is equal to -x squared minus 6x. Then it says, so that would actually give you 1 point. Then it says state the coordinates of the vertex of the graph. Okay. The vertex of the graph is the highest point or the lowest point on the parabola. In this case, it's the highest point because it's a maximum value. And the vertex is the point -3, 9. That is the vertex right over here. -3, 9. That is a vertex right there. All right, pretty simple stuff. Not a bad question. Moving on to number 27. Remember that these are part 2s. These are supposed to be quick. Not too bad. All right, number 27. State whether 7 minus radical 2 is rational or irrational. Explain your answer. So first and foremost, you need to know a couple things. The number 7 is rational. A rational number, by definition, is a number that could be written as the ratio of 2 integers. So 7 could be written as a ratio of 7 to 1, or it could be written as 14 to 2. You see what I'm trying to say here? If it's a ratio of 2 integers, it is a rational number. Now, the square root of 2 is commonly known as an irrational number. And if you don't know that the square root of 2 is an irrational number, drill that into your brain. Remember, an irrational number by definition is a non-repeating, non-terminating, meaning it doesn't end, decimal. All right, I'm just writing all this stuff down so it could jog in your head. So, let me just show you what 7 minus radical 2 is into the calculator. 7 minus the square root of 2. Notice how that number is really disgusting. So you should know that if you're doing this, 7 minus radical 2, you're going to get an irrational answer. So here's how you explain your answer. And you need to answer the actual question first. So your answer is this. 7 minus radical 2 is an irrational number, okay? Now, here's how you explain your answer. Since the square root of 2 is an irrational number, the subtraction or difference, meaning the same thing, of a rational and an irrational number, results in an irrational number. That's how you explain your answer, okay? And that's all you need to do to get that question right. Done. All right, number 28. The value, v of t, of a car depreciates according to the function v of t equals p times 0.85 to the t, where p is the purchase price of the car and t is the time in years since the car was purchased. State the percent that the value of the car decreases by each year and justify your answer. So, by now, I hope that you know the formula. A of t equals p times 1 plus or minus the rate raised to the t power. Okay? This is your increasing function or decreasing function in terms of appreciation and depreciation of things. So, we don't know what the principal is. We don't care what the principal is. We care about what that little bugger right there is. We care about the r. Okay, so look at what's in here up top, 0.85. Okay, look at what's in here, 1 plus or minus r. So what are you thinking right now? What you should be thinking is this. You're taking the 0.85 and you're setting it equal to 1 minus r. Why minus and not plus? Because you're depreciating. You're decreasing the car's value. So it's not appreciating. It's not going up with a plus. It's going down with a minus. So your job is to find the percent that the value of the car decreases each year. So in order to do that, you just take this, and you're just going to subtract the 1 on both sides. You're going to isolate that r. So we get negative 0.15 is equal to negative r. Okay, divide by negative 1 on both sides, and you get r is equal to 0.15, positive 0.15. But we have a problem here. Okay, we have a problem. It's asking you for the percent. State the percent that the value of the car decreases by. So you should know that this is a decimal. To convert this to a percent, you move the decimal place 2 places backwards. To the right, really, okay? And that will give you an answer of 15%. And ladies and gentlemen, that is the answer to this question, 15%. Does it say justify your answer? Okay, so this is justification. It's the math involved to get to the 15%. If it said explain, you would need to use words in order to get that question right. Number 29, it says a survey of 100 students was taken. It found that 60 students watched sports and 34 of these students did not like pop music. Of the students who did not watch sports, 70% like pop music. Complete the two-way frequency table. Oh, man. Not too bad, though. Not too bad. Let's go ahead and figure this out. A survey of 100 students was taken. That 100 students goes to the total and the total columns. So the 100 goes in this box. So let's go ahead and put that in right now. That's 100. Okay? And it said that 60 students watched sports. Okay. So go to the watched sports column. 60 students watched sports. So that's the total number down here, 60. Okay? Then it said 34 of these students did not like pop music. So of the kids or students who watched sports, 34 of them did not like pop music. Okay? Now let's go ahead and find out, well, what are the students that liked pop music in this column? Well, in order to get this, you just take 60 minus the 34. You get an answer of 26 students. Making sense so far? Okay, so now from here, we got all that done. Then it says, of the students who do not watch sports, so don't watch sports, 70% of them liked pop music. Okay, well, look at what we have here. We have 60 students who watches sports. There's 100 students total. That means that there are 40 students left who don't watch sports. Okay? Honestly, this is really simple. It's just, do you know where to place the numbers in this chart? Honestly, not too bad. So, it said that 70% of the students liked pop music. So what you're really doing is you're taking the 40 students and you're multiplying it by 70%, which is just 0.7, and you get 28 students. So that means that 28 students of the 40 liked pop music. So this was found by taking 0.7 times 40 students, and you get 28 students. Then you just find the students who don't watch sports and don't like pop music. It's 40 minus 28, you get 12 students. To get these totals, you just add it along the way. So you take 26 plus 28, you get 54. 34 plus 12, you get 46. Make sure that adds up to give you 100, and it does. That is how you complete this two-way frequency table. Okay? Pretty simple question. You could have had a part 3 with this. It could have been a lot worse. So that's it. That's how you do that question. Number 30. Graph the inequality y plus 4 is less than negative 2 times x minus 4 on the set of axes below. So what we're going to do first is we're going to isolate that y by itself. Put it by itself. So your job is to subtract the 4 on both sides. Okay? We get, I'm going to put it over here. I'm actually going to shrink this graph down because it is ridiculously large. Give me 1 second here. There we go. That's a little bit better. Okay, so we get y is less than -2 times x minus 4 minus 4 when you move that 4 over. Now just distribute that -2. We get y is less than -2x. -2 times the -4 gives you a +8, then the -4. Combine these two. 8 minus 4 is +4, so y is less than -2x plus 4. You're graphing this inequality here. Okay, so let's talk about this. It says graph it. Well, this is all the work you need, but I like to write everything down about this graph. Okay, so the slope. Well, the slope is -2 over 1. That's the rise over the run. The y-intercept is 0, 4. You're just going up 4. Okay, it is a dotted line because it has a less than sign. If it was less than or equal to, it would be a solid line, but it's just less than. Okay? And it is shading below. Because, again, it's less than. Less than, you're shading below. If it was greater than, you're shading above. Okay? And I'm also going to show you how to graph this on your calculator. It's actually pretty neat. I'll show you that after I graph it over here. So, y-intercept of 0, 4. Here we go. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Go down 2 to the right 1, down 2 to the right 1. Keep on going like this. And then do it in reverse. Okay. Now, from here, you're going to draw yourself a dotted line like this. Okay. You're going to label y plus 4 is less than -2 times x minus 4. Last but not least, you're going to shade, and you're shading below, like that. Okay? I don't like that last one. And that's how you do that question, using just strict knowledge of inequality graphing. So now I'm going to show you how to graph this on the graphing calculator. Just make sure that you're right. So go to your graphing calculator. Okay? And I'm going to go to my graph. And this is pretty neat. Watch this. If you go to menu and go to graph entry edit and click on relation, you could actually just type in y plus 4. Now to get that less than sign, you just do control equal. Get that less than sign. -2 times x minus 4. Boom. Why does that? Okay. The reason, all right, it looks solid, but actually if you hover over the line, notice how it turns dotted. All right, the shading's still there, but notice how it turns dotted. You just need to double check that. But that's it. It's a dotted line passing through all of our conditions that we said, and it's shading downward. Cool. All right, number 31. If f of x equals x squared and g of x equals x, determine the values of x that satisfy the equation f of x equals g of x. Oh my god. Can it get any easier than this? This is not bad. You're just taking these equations and you're setting them equal to each other. Easy peasy. So we're taking x squared equals x. Okay. I take it back with the easy peasy. It's easy peasy for most people, but if you don't see that this is a quadratic where you need to factor, you could have gotten this one wrong. So what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to subtract the x on both sides. So we get x squared minus x equals 0. Now you need to pull out an x because that's the greatest common factor. Take out an x, you're left with x minus 1. Be careful with that. Equals 0. Now you do your t-bar, x equals 0, and we get x minus 1 equals 0. Add that 1 on both sides, and we get x is equal to positive 1. So just write it in the swirly brackets. So x is equal to the swirly brackets, 0, 1. And that is your answer. Or you could just circle those two answers and just be done. But I like it in the swirly brackets. All right, moving on. 32. Describe the effect that each transformation below has on the function f of x equals the absolute value of x. Ooh, man. Where a is greater than 0. What this is telling you is that that a is a positive number. And in addition, the reason why they're telling you it's a positive number is if the number's negative, it's negative. If the sign is negative and the number is right next to it, it's negative. What this is telling you is that the signs are not changing in your equations, okay? That's why they're telling you that. Because if it was negative, it would be a completely different story. So here we go. This, if it's in the absolute value bars, this is a horizontal shift. And it is always opposite the sign. Opposite the sign. Okay? This A is on the outside of the vertical bars. This is a vertical shift. And it is the same as the sign, or the same direction as the sign, okay? So in order to explain it, all you got to do is you say it is a horizontal shift to the right by A units. Because it's opposite the sign. You would think it would be going to the left because it was negative. No, it's going to the right by A units. Then, down here, this is a vertical shift. Down by A units. And as you can see, even though it is negative, it is the same direction. So if it's negative on the outside, it's going down. Vertical shift, going down. Same as the sign. Okay? And that's how you do those questions. All right, now we're moving on to the part 3s. Part 3. Here we go. Number 33. The function r of x is defined by the expression x squared plus 3x minus 18. Use factoring to determine the zeros of r of x. Oh, man. Take these points and run with it. X squared plus 3x minus 18. These are an easy 2 points, people. Let's do it. Factor it. What adds to positive 3 and multiplies to give... That is an ugly A. I don't know what that was. What adds to give you positive 3 and multiplies to give you negative 18? Those numbers are positive 6 and negative 3. X plus 6, x minus 3. Just to make sure. Positive 6 times a negative 3 gives you a negative 18. And positive 6 minus 3 gives you a positive 3. Good. Equals 0. T-bar it. X equals negative 6, and x is equal to 3. You just take its opposite. So, use factoring to determine the zeros. The zeros are x equals negative 6, and x is equal to 3. Okay. Simple question. Of course, there's a follow-up, though. All right, so the follow-up question is, explain what the zeros represent on the graph of r of x. Okay, so what does this mean, the word 0? That means if you take this, which is a quadratic, now this is just a sketch, I don't know what it looks like, but the sketch, it's saying that the roots, or where the parabola crosses the x-axis, are at the points x equals negative 6 and x equals 3. So to put that into words, you're just going to say that the zeros are the x values, that looks like a V, x values where the function intersects the x-axis. And you're done. Happy. Okay, moving on to number 34. This question was not bad, but I don't like it. The graph below shows Craig's trip to visit his friend in another state. In the course of his travels, he encountered both highway and city driving. Okay, so here we have a pretty funky looking graph, and he encountered both highway and city driving. So let's talk about this. This is the amount of hours, and this is the amount of miles traveled. So he traveled 230 miles in 7 hours. This friend lives pretty far. Okay. Then, here we go. It says, based on the graph, during which interval did Craig most likely drive in the city? Explain your reasoning. Okay. Where did Craig drive in the city? So, this is I don't like this question, but it is what it is. What you need to know is that city driving has to be like 20-25 miles an hour. If you ever drive into Manhattan, you're not going faster than 30 miles an hour ever, because there's taxi cabs, buses, Ubers, people driving their cars. Every freaking person under the sun is in Manhattan. But that's really what they're going for, like a congested city. They're not talking about Staten Island with the Belt Parkway. You could be going 60 miles an hour on the Belt Parkway, if you know where that is. If you live in the city, you know what I'm talking about. I personally do not live in the city, but I've been there too many times. So they're kind of going for, did you know, or you should know, that Craig is driving in the city from D to E. And if you said B to C, you're wrong, and I'll explain why a little bit later. But he's driving in the city from D to E. Okay. So state it and explain your answer. So Craig most likely, hold on a second, let me make this a little bigger. Craig most likely drove in the city on the interval from 5 to 7. And just make sure that these are closed brackets, because we do have closed dots. Okay, we do have closed dots, so I'm going to put closed brackets. So on the interval from 5 to 7, or you could say or between, or between, how was that? Or between points D and E, because the vehicle was traveling at a rate or speed of 15 miles per hour, which is relatively slow driving for a highway. So Craig must be in the city. Okay, now if you're thinking, or you're asking yourself, well, how did he get 15 miles an hour? I'd be more than happy to show you how he got 15 miles an hour. You go back to your graph. Point D in this case, point D is the point 5, 200, and E is the point 7, 230. All you need to do is calculate the slope of that line. So you do the change in y over the change in x, which is again y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. You get 230 minus 200 over 7 minus 5. You get an answer of 15 miles per hour. That's how I got that rate. Now, let me just reread what I just wrote. Craig most likely drove in the city between points D and E because the vehicle was traveling at a speed of 15 miles an hour, which is relatively slow driving. It's a pretty slow driving for a highway. So Craig must be in the city. What I don't like about this question is, what if you're on a highway and you hit traffic? Like, I mean, it's a stupid question. Stupid question. I don't like it. But whatever. Okay. Explain what might have happened in the interval from B to C. Okay. So, from B to C, you just need to understand what this is telling you. Notice how the line does not go up. It's actually level. So, Craig drives from 0 miles, and he drives exactly 110 miles. Then all of a sudden he doesn't go anywhere. That's the key that you needed to get this question right. He doesn't go anywhere. He stopped at the position for an hour and a half. So he stopped somewhere for an hour and a half. So you could put a whole bunch of answers for this. As long as you get the gist or the idea is that he stopped for an hour and a half, you got this question right. So I said the following answers. You could pick any one you want, or you could just compare. Between points B and C, I put the following answers. Traffic was at a standstill, meaning it's not moving, due to a major car accident. Actually, wait, let me rephrase it. Traffic was at a standstill for an hour and a half. For an hour and a half due to a major car accident. Okay? That's the first choice you could pick. Again, there's many choices you could do. Second one was Craig took a nap at a rest stop. Don't know why he would do that. Or you could say that Craig stopped for food at a fancy restaurant. Doesn't have to be fancy. It could just be food, restaurant, whatever it is. You could make the restaurant be anything you want. You could say that Craig got a flat tire and he waited for like AAA to arrive. If you don't know what AAA is, that's a roadside assistance. But anything that shows that he stopped and not moving, that's a correct answer. Then it says determine Craig's average speed to the nearest tenth of a mile per hour for his entire trip. So all you need to do is take the average speed from point A to point E. Okay? So we're finding the slope. From A to E. Okay? Average speed means slope. That's what that means. Average speed means slope, which is the change in the distance over the change in the time. Okay? So here we go. The slope, which is the change in y over the change in x, which is going to be this. This point is 0, 0. And I said before that this point is the point 7, 230. So we have 230 minus 0 over 7 minus 0. That's going to be 230 over 7. When you plug this into your calculator, you get 32.9 miles per hour. That is the average speed that he was driving over the course of his trip. All right, that's how you do question number 34. Number 35, here we go. Given this information, solve the equation g of x equals 2k of x algebraically for x to the nearest tenth. Okay, so it says algebraically, so we can't use any... Well, we can use graphing calculator technology, but there has to be some sort of work shown. So it's saying here... Now, know what it's saying here. It's saying take the equation g of x and set it equal to double k of x. So 2x squared plus 3x plus 10, set it equal to double of kx, which is 2x plus 16. That's what that means, okay? Now we're just going to solve for x. Not too bad. Distribute the 2. We get 2x squared plus 3x plus 10 is equal to 4x plus 32. Okay. We're going to subtract the 4x and subtract the 32. Subtract the 4x, subtract the 32. Those cancel. We get 2x squared minus x minus 22. Set that equal to the number 0. Now, the problem here, folks, is this is not factorable. This is not factorable by GCF, by dots, by trinomial, by any of that. We are forced to use the quadratic formula. Here we go. So we get x is equal to negative b plus minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Plug in your information. So we get negative 1 because, okay, so your a in this, your a is your 2, b is negative 1, c is negative 22. Just to let you know. So plug all this in. Oops. 2. Okay, and now you just simplify a little bit further. So we get positive 1 plus minus the square root. Underneath the radical is 177 when you evaluate that, all over 4. Now, this you need to type into the calculator. There's no other way that you could solve for this without the use of a calculator. And it says round to the nearest tenth. Okay, so if you type that in, here's what we get. Control division, 1 plus the square root of 177 over 4. We get this answer. Oops. We get that answer. Now, the problem is, ladies and gentlemen, is that there are two answers. It's plus minus. So you need to put a plus first. Then you need to go up and copy it again. And you need to put in a minus sign. So there are two answers. There's negative 3.1. You take that 7, you round it up because it's to the nearest tenth. And you get 3.6. Okay, so we get x is equal to, swirly bracket, negative 3.1, comma, 3.6. Those are your answers. That's your solution to the system. Okay, not too bad of a question. Then it asks for a follow-up. Explain why you chose the method you used to solve this quadratic equation. Okay, so we use a quadratic formula, right? So there's a really easy answer that you could use, or there's like my complicated answer. So you could say one of the following. You could say that the quadratic formula always works, literally always works, for a quadratic equation. So that's the easy way. That's the easy explanation. Or you could do the Trevor Clark way. Trevor did it this way. I said this. The quadratic formula was chosen because A does not equal 1. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Skipped a line. Because 2x squared minus x minus 22 equals 0 was not factorable because, sorry, that should be a BC, because A does not equal 1, meaning that the first term does not equal 1, it equals 2, okay? The basic trinomial method, by figuring out what adds to the linear term, meaning the middle term, and multiplies to the constant term, did not work. Okay, that is the Trevor Clark complicated answer. You could do whatever you want. Both of them are equally acceptable answers. Okay, moving on to number 36. Almost done with this exam. Almost done. We're almost there. Michael has $10 in a savings account. Option 1 says that it will add $100 to his account each week. Option 2 will double the amount of his account at the end of each week. Write a function in terms of x to model each option of saving. Okay, so option 1, all right, option 1 says, and I'm going to call this f of x, it says that he currently has $10 in his savings account right now, and option 1 says that he will add $100 each week. Ladies and gentlemen, the x in this case represents the number of weeks, okay? It could be 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, so on and so forth. So it's the $10 plus the $100 times the amount of weeks that he has. The second option, option 2, says that he will take the $10, I'm going to call this g of x, my apologies, g of x is equal to his $10 for his starting amount, and he's doubling it raised to the x power. Okay, this is exponential growth. This is doubling. Okay, so these are his two options. You would get 2 points if you got those right. Now for the follow-up question, Michael wants to have at least $700 in his account by the end of 7 weeks to buy a mountain bike. Determine which option or options will enable him to reach his goal. Justify your answer. So what we're going to do is this. I'm going to take 7 and I'm going to plug it into f of x, which is, again, 10 plus 100x, okay? So I'm going to find f of 7. F of 7, we're going to take the 7, we're going to plug in for x. So we get 10 plus 100 times 7, okay? That's 10 plus 7 times 100 is 700. He will get $710 from option 1. So he's okay. He has $710. He has $10 left over to buy his mountain bike. All right, so that's option 1. Option 2 is, again, g of x equals 10 times 2 raised to the x. Let's go ahead and plug in the number 7. So we get g of 7 is equal to 10 times 2 to the 7th power. Okay? 2 to the 7th power is the number 128. So we just take 10 times 128. That will give you an amount of $1,028. So he has a lot of money if he picks option 2. But the question's not asking which one has more. It's saying which of the following option or options will allow him to reach his goal. Well, he only needs $700 to reach his goal. So technically, both of them work. So here's your answer. Both options will allow him to achieve his goal, because f of x and g of x exceeds his goal of $700 at time t equals 7 weeks. All right, that's how you do that question. That's how you do that that follow-up question. Not too bad. Not too bad. And now we go on to the final question of this Regents exam, which honestly I did not think was that hard at all. Again, it's a system of equations. You're seeing a lot of these. On the part 4, there's a lot of, if you go through all the Regents exams, there's a lot of system of equations questions. So let's go ahead and solve it. Central High School has 5 members on their swim team in 2010. Over the next several years, the team increased by an average of 10 members per year. The same school had 35 members in their chorus in 2010. The chorus saw an increase of 5 members per year. Write a system of equations to model the situation where x represents the number of years since 2010. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to let s of x equal the swim team. The swim team function. Okay? And I'm going to let c of x equal the chorus group function. All right, these are just the equations. So, you need to find out what s of x is for the swim team. So, s of x is equal to, well, let's see. They started off with 5 members. So 5 members, and they're adding an average of 10 members per year. So 5 plus 10x. Okay? Now for the chorus group, c of x is equal to, they started off with 35 members, and they're adding an average of 5 members per year. Okay? So this, ladies and gentlemen, is the system of equations that you need. Okay, and again, where x is the number of years since 2010. So that is the answer for this part. Okay, now it just says for the second part of this problem, graph the system of equations on the set of axes below. Great. So I'm going to make this smaller because that is way too big. Entire page. See if that works. Okay. So what I'm going to do is, well, first of all, you need to label everything. Label the axis. So I'm going to say over here, this is the members. No. I'm going to say total members over here. And on the bottom, I'm going to say number of years. Oh, I knew I was going to do that. Number of years since 2010. Okay. So the numbers here, I'm actually going to skip by one. So one, actually, sorry, skip by two, I should say. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And over here, I'm going to count by tens. So skip one, we get 10. Skip another one, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, and 100. Okay, so those are our axes, okay? And all we're doing is we're taking this information and we're just graphing it. Newsflash, folks, both of these are lines. You know how to graph a line. This has a y-intercept of 5 and a slope of 10. This has a y-intercept of 35 with a slope of 5. Let's do it. Now, this can get a little complicated, so bear with me here. I'm going to graph the swim team function first. The swim team function had 5 members, and it is increasing by 10 per year. So we go up 10 members to the right one. So in the first year, they now have 15 members, okay? So I'm going to go up 10 to the right by 1. That's 15 members. Then again, go up 10, which this is 15, now it's 25, go to the right by 1. That's 25, now they're at 35. Oops, shouldn't put that. 35, 1. Now they're at 45, 1. 55, 1. 65, 1. 75, 1. Just keep on following that pattern until you reach all the way 85, 95 at the 9. Okay, so that is the swim team function. All right, so that is S of x is equal to 10x plus 5. I'm going to graph the chorus in a blue line. So the y-intercept is 35, and now you were going up by 5 members each year into the right one. So 35, 40, 45 in the second year, 50 in the third year, 55 in the fourth year, 60 in the fifth year, 65 in the sixth year, 70 in the seventh year, 75 in the eighth year, so on and so forth. Okay, so we have that line. Go ahead and get a blue line here. And this is the chorus. So that's C of x is equal to 35 plus 5x. Okay, great. So we just graphed it. That's it. That's all we need to do. Now let's solve for the other part. One last part and we're done. Explain in detail what each coordinate of the point of intersection of these equations means in the context of the problem. So the point of intersection is the point 6, 65. So 6, 65. So let's go ahead and explain what each point of intersection means in the context of the problem. So your answer is in the sixth year, after 2010, the swim team and chorus group will have a total of 65 members each. And you're done with that question. Pretty simple last part 4, in my opinion. I didn't think it was that bad. It could have been a lot worse. And that is the conclusion of this video. Make sure that you hit that subscribe button down below. It will mean a lot to me. And consider becoming a patron on my Patreon page. I will be forever so grateful and thank you for your support each and every day. And make sure that you visit my website at www.nysmathreadersprep.com. Both of those links are in the description below. And I will see you soon.